Nothing like
Have
having a little trash talk in the podcast.
Man, that's why you invite us, right? You don't want to get some serious information, like
you
just have some
don't
German trash talking.
you don't have to publish it if it goes sideways.
If you've listened to any of my podcasts, you know that most of them do go sideways.
Fair enough.
Are
I
we
don't.
are we actually are we actually publishing this with a video, or is it just basically for us to see each other,
Um,
bounce off each other a little bit?
I was actually planning on doing publishing the video this
Okay.
time. I'm thinking about kind of boosting my YouTube channel, so I'm gonna do probably more game devy stuff on there.
Then maybe I
Since
should. It's that because I'm moving all the time. Maybe I should just like get like a proper view and a locked in position or something like that,
yeah,
because it's
get a locked in
really
position. There you
weird
go.
if I move around. How about that? Is that like
Yeah,
good
you
enough?
you
Because like the light is like
you might make
so.
my five guests like seasick or something.
Yeah, exactly. They will be sick anyway of whatever, but
Mm,
at least not from the camera movement.
fair enough. So you guys have been? How long have you guys been game deving? If that's a
7
term.
years, huh?
Did we
Game
ever
deving?
did we ever really game dev?
No, nah, man. No, we're just fools on a big playground, I guess. No.
It's definitely a big playground.
Hmm.
So like, what was your is so was Resolution your first game or like your first official or was it just like your first project period?
No,
It
man.
was it
I
was
guess
it was
Tell me a
the
story.
first. It was the first in everything, most probably. Yeah. Okay, you can
I
tell the
mean,
story. Tell the resolution story.
One of you guys tell me a story. I got
yeah. How
coffee.
about
I'm
that, man?
I'm good.
We
Oh
we
man,
here for the story.
coffee is actually the introduction to resolution or the entry point. Cheers, I have coffee too.
Actually, it is.
Coffee is the
Actually, it
way.
is. There's really a story, and I think I've told this here and there over the years, and I think it must have been at least 7 years ago or something on these lines when we started to dabble with the idea of creating a video game. And the kind of story was really funny, at least from not just from my point of view, I guess. At that time, I was running my company, and Richie was doing his PhD in physics, and 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 we were both quite interested in indie game development. I think it was the time when like Bastion hit and Super Meat Boy and Limbo and
And
all this
playing,
kind of
not development, just playing the
not
stuff.
development, right? They basically, yeah, we was just playing it, but all these kind of indie gems that became so ridiculously popular, they mostly hit the market within I think 1 or 2 years, and of course we liked the idea because we've been gaming nerds from the '80s, obviously to do a video game on our own eventually. But looking into the amount of work it needs, all this kind of artwork, coding, world building, storytelling, all this kind of madness that has to go into a video game was way over our heads. So we're like, no, this is too crazy. And then Richie was basically in his last stretch of the physics PhD, and I guess he was bored. So eventually he started to tinker with the game engine, which was Godot at that time in a very early build, obviously. Um, and he asked me eventually, "Hey, Gunny, I have this kind of black dot who is like moving over the screen. Would you like to participate and draw something?" And I was like, "Man, I'm not getting into this. That's crazy, man. It's like you will not get anywhere with it. So, and I'm not wasting my time. So, and I think like a month later or something like that, his little black dot was able to move, I think, through walls and through doors or something like that, or like bounce off walls and move through doors. And he tried to convince me again, and I was still out of it. And I think another few weeks later, the little dot had changed into like I think like a Final Fantasy kind of character who was basically able to move and had like a little sword that did this, nothing more. And like I think like two enemies. I think one was shooting bullets, and the other one, at least there was some collision, right, and some kind of health management. And I was still not convinced. And I think it took him like something around 2 to 3 months or something like that. Eventually came out and said, Gunny, I really have the full deal right now. I have a little character who can walk in 8 directions. He can walk through doors and be blocked by walls. I have two enemies, and my character can hit with the sword and can do magic. And he got me with magic. That was basically the moment where I decided, okay, fuck it. I just go in and try to create some graphics and come up with something that would be worthwhile. And then we started this kind of wild game journey that is so weird in hindsight because we had no freaking idea what we were doing, no experience whatsoever, no previous connection to the industry whatsoever. We just jumped in and tried to muggle our way around and try to make some kind of progress. And from there, it's kind of tiny idea started. I mean, initially we just wanted to make one level. That's it. And from one level, it grew to something like 4 levels. And then eventually we had this kind of massive, crazy project in our hands that just was not able to stop. And this kind of train kept moving and moving and moving and became crazier and bigger and bigger. And I guess like 5 years later, Resolution was done. That was basically the idea and the kind of
Oh,
initial
nice.
journey.
So, which one of you handles the code, and which one handles the art? And
I handle the code. Kuni handles the artwork. We do all the game design more or less together, and we have this friend of ours, Garrett Wolf, who handles the music, who is just a fucking magician.
The
Probably
wizard.
he's the wizard. He's the soul
I mean,
of everything.
up to today, we just have the feeling that everybody just plays Resolution for the music. I mean, who cares about the characters and the art and everything? It's just like everybody says, I want to hear more of these kind of tunes. Fuck the rest. And I have to agree.
I have 3 of the Resolution songs on my music to program to list on YouTube.
Which one do you have?
I have Fight the Parasite,
Mm.
which is just I don't know, that song is just phenomenal. It's just amazing. I have Resolution, which I guess that's the first one on the soundtrack. And I've got another one, but I cannot recall the name of it. Let me see. Actually, I think I got it up here. Sanctuary Below the Flooded Shafts. But I mean, all of them are fantastic. Like,
It's ridiculous,
they're
right?
just they're great. Yeah, that guy's
Even
really
to the
good.
even to the point today, this is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. Yep.
I was
I'm
just
curious. Did the soundtrack outsell the game?
No,
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 actually not.
Oh, okay.
no.
Actually not.
By
But
far not. It's really weird. Like I guess it runs under the this kind of hidden gem thingy. You know, like that nobody barely anybody knows about it.
Mm.
Yeah. So, but you know that's also true for a game that is so massively misspelled that nobody can find it in Google. So
Where did the name come from?
who came up with that stupid
Whose
idea?
bright idea was
holy
that?
crap. I'd say it's Richie's fault, right? I mean, I
No.
totally have to put blame on him. No, we think a shitload. I mean, obviously, you know, finding the good name for your first video game that you work on so long, that's a freaking hassle, man. You
Mm.
try to turn every stone. Um, I think eventually we settled with Resolution because it had so many of the kind of aspect that we incorporated to the game. First of all, the kind of 3, let's say, spirits, right? Red, green, and blue. That's obviously the kind of pixels on the computer or the kind of a color model or
Mhm.
RGB. So you
Mhm.
know, like that is obviously very closely tied to Resolution. And then I think the kind of story tells the story of Valor. And while you play the game, Valor in the beginning is just this kind of faceless character. You know, he's just a let's say boring hack and slash cyborg whatever guy who's just like killing stuff. You know, there's nothing behind it. And as you progress, you know, like the kind of story zooms out step and step and step and step. And you know, the metaphor that I really like so much is that the resolution increases. Right, you
Mm.
understand more and more what's going on, and maybe not, right. And the more resolution you get, the more you zoom out, the more complex and complicated it gets, and also his motives change step by step by step because the resolution increases. So we decided the resolution is a pretty cool name, and then we tinkered with all these kind of variants like the dark resolution and you know like Valor's resolution and resolution of alibi, and all this kind of how can you permutate this, what can you move this into, and just nothing clicked. But the word resolution stuck along, and eventually Richie
Mm.
was like, "Man, we have to make this special." And then there was this kind of thing in the game already that Alibi, the kind of little AI character, like from the lore perspective, her real name is basically Alibi 2. But you know, I didn't like writing Alibi 2 because it looked really weird. So I just
Mm.
changed the last I into this kind of Roman 2, right? Kind of
Mm.
I.
Yeah.
And I really liked this, and it felt like a cool way of mis
Shit.
yo, it's unprofessional as it gets. I love it.
Right? I am gonna turn my volume off. uh,
That and yeah, you know, at the end, I really like this kind of what is it like a decipher thing, you know, maybe like a code hiccup, whatever. And so we took this kind of
mhm.
alibi I2 thing into resolution, and
Yeah.
we liked it. Almost everybody hated it, but that's indie game dev. It's our story. Screw you.
Right. Right.
We
Exactly.
learned from that mistake. We definitely learned from that mistake.
Uh, yeah.
But
I
yeah,
think. I was gonna say. I think the title of your second game was actually a lot easier to find in Google.
It
yeah,
is. It
that's
is.
the learning. That was the main learning. That was the main learning. Come up with a better name. Come up with a name that can actually be Googled.
Yeah, that's fair.
Anyways, what's your story, Andrew? What's your story?
What's my story?
Why are you running a game dev podcast?
Uh, I'm just running a podcast, really. I talk to developers from all over the place. So,
All right.
in fact, I just talked to a guy. I think he was from the UK. And then before that, I talked to another guy in Australia. He and I talked a little bit about game dev. I've known him for going on like 9 or 10 years. I think we met on a Construct 2 forum. And I had a buggy project, and he helped me fix it. I've been interested in game dev pretty much my whole life, but
What, what's
I
your
always
background? What's your background?
um, I have a weird background. So I've done all kinds of things for work. I've never coded for work, but I've done all kinds of crap. I recently went through an Elixir boot camp, Elixir and Phoenix.
What is that?
Um, Elixir is it's a programming language. It's I'm drawing blank now. Anyway, yeah, it's a programming language and a web framework.
I see.
Um, so I went through that like the last. I think I started that in last year, like toward the end of the year. I went through a beta, and then I went through the first cohort. Um, and I mean, like I said, I've always been interested in game dev. So anytime I try to learn a new language, I look to see what sort of game frameworks or engines are for it. It's just like a
I
really
see.
bad
So you
habit.
so you're
Have
you're
you been?
you're 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 the tinker. You're the tinker type. You
I'm the
like?
tinker type. Yeah.
I see.
Yep. Yeah. Throw
Have
me
you been?
some Legos or Tinker toys or programming languages.
Yeah. Have you been dabbling with game dev at all, or just like
Yeah. Here and there. I've actually started dabbling again, playing with Defold and G Develop a little bit. I've got a 7-year old, so I'm trying to get him kind of more
Make
interested in that side of things.
make me some money,
uh,
kid. Make me some money, kid.
Exactly. If I can get him into game dev, maybe in the next 10 years or so, he'll be supporting me. So no, but yeah, I've just always had an interest. I've been following Godot since its early days. And I was actually going to ask, what version of Godot were you using when you first started? Do you remember?
I don't remember properly anymore, but it was something with a one in front. It was something 1.7 or so, or 1.9,
Okay.
and after a couple
Yeah.
of months, this the 2.0 version, and
Hmm.
quickly afterwards. So I remember that most of Resolution, or at least not most, but at least the first couple of years, we used the whole 2 point something branch, and then the 3.0 came out. I think a year before we released Resolution or something like that. So I remember that it took me a long time to port the whole thing over onto the 3.0 branch because they changed a shitload of stuff back in the day.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah,
No.
but I
No
think
LTS branch.
yeah, totally not. So the whole I remember to struggling through the whole thing, especially because they changed all the audio notes and things like that, which were a pain because I just had to manually rebuild more or less all entities because every entity was or a ton of entities because they were all using their own audio players and they fully changed the whole audio system thingy how that worked. Um, I think we released Resolution with 3.3 and Lila with
Yeah, yeah, I remember.
3.5 with
Yeah, I
3.5.
remember.
So the technical changes then for the second game were kind of totally minor. But yeah, good times. How about
And
you?
by my
What was your first Godot
um
playground?
man, I probably didn't. I don't know. I kind of toyed with it. I didn't really get very far. Tried to learn it here and there. Um, I think when the last time I really was talking to you guys on Discord, that was probably the last time I really dabbled a bunch in Godot. Um, I had some family stuff happen. Had one of my brothers passed away, and so I kind of like stepped away from game dev for a good while. But as most things do, they come back. The bug has bit me again. So I'm back to kind of playing around a little bit. But I've
Yeah.
got some ideas, some game ideas. Um, I've always I've written stuff, so I've written a couple of un unpublished novels, um, and I make pixel art and stuff like that. So
Okay, sweet.
um, I
Sounds
think
like
I'm
sounds like a point and click coming up.
yeah, maybe. I'm kind of thinking I might do some sort of platformer, but I'm not 100% sure yet. I've got an idea for one. Actually, I have a couple ideas for one. Um, but I played this game a while back. I can't remember the name of it, but it was almost like a Dead Space, but 2D. And then
Well, I'm sold already. Do it.
yeah. So I guess the developers never finished it. They just I don't know. They made it about halfway. They released it, but they didn't finish it.
Yeah.
So I was thinking it might be cool to make something similar, but more pixel art. I think their art was very kind of um, sort of like SVG stuff. Very very clean, very pristine. I like muddy pixels
Yeah,
better.
we don't want the clean stuff as well.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I mean, I mean,
Looks
if
it
you, if
looks
you talk
it
about
looks so mobile. It always looks like a mobile game if you do stuff like that, which kind of feels cheap, although it isn't.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's weird how our brains are heavily biased. I totally don't get it. I don't get why people with a clean SVG kind of style look always feel cheap. Maybe
Hmm.
probably because of the hand with the mobile stuff. Because
Yeah.
a lot of mobile games use this kind of look
Hmm.
and mostly suck. There are really
Yeah.
really good mobile games out there. So yeah, that's probably some sort of weird bias.
I mean, it's probably they probably use that because on a smaller screen it looks better. Maybe when you're dealing with something like it's only that big. You throw pixels on there and it looks really tiny. So I don't know. Maybe that's part of it, but making a desktop game with that just kind of doesn't. I don't know. I don't like it.
I mean, there's also probably this kind of component that SVG always feels like you're looking at a I don't know man at some kind of geometry. It just feels like way
Hmm.
too technical because like
Yeah.
there's no real feeling in it, right? I mean, it's like everything feels like perfectly placed, and this kind of circle is going perfectly and aligned perfectly with everything, and there's just a feeling to it, not this kind of chaos that we are looking for when playing video games or generally games in any shape or
Right.
form.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
definitely prefer the pixels for sure.
I mean,
Or
looking.
maybe we're just old. Maybe we're just
Yes,
old. That's
yes,
it.
yes. I want to say that, man.
I mean,
Like
that's
we're
fair.
just old,
We're
man.
just
We
old.
just go. Richie
Uh,
said. Richie said like when we brainstormed about how to do like a little banner for resolution and what should the kind of Steam assets look like. He said like, man, I'm always falling for these pixel looks. Like if the banner looks like a pixel game, then I at least click on it, right? And I was like, yeah, this is most certainly that we've been growing up in the '80s. And remember the kind of NES, the little NES cartridges
yeah,
where there were
yeah,
literally like zoomed up pixels on it, like kind of Mario. I think was it like hitting the block or something like that. And
yeah,
they
yeah.
just put like pixel art on these kind of boxes. We're like, it's just probably because we're freaking old.
I mean, pretty much all they got to do is put Mario hitting a block on just about every game, and I would click on it.
Yeah, 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 for sure. Yeah, exactly, exactly. Have you seen the movie?
Yeah, yeah. The movie's really fun. Did you like it?
Oh
It was
fuck yeah,
awesome.
man.
It was so
I
good.
mean,
It was so
I
good.
mean,
It was so,
I'm go ahead,
go ahead.
Richie.
It was just such this awesome mixture between fan service and just feel good thingy. It was just like no deep message, no nothing. It was just feel good from the start. I had such a
Yeah,
blast. It was so
yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah. Exactly right. My son. It was weird because my son he grew up playing Mario games, and
Did you make
he
him or did you want to?
I forced him, totally forced him.
Good man,
Good,
good
good
man,
dad, good dad.
good dad.
We played a ton of Mario Kart and just different Mario games, but he didn't want to watch the movie when it came out, and now he watches it all the time. It was kind of
Well,
weird. We're like, hey, you want to watch Mario? And nah, like nah. What's wrong with you? Didn't I raise you right?
did you brainwash him properly?
I didn't do a
No,
good
but
enough
hold on.
job. Back in the tank.
I mean, no, seriously, man. With all these, with all the shitty
Give me a
movies that
food.
have been dumped on us over all these kind of years, I was really hoping. I mean, or another way, how high are the chances that after so many horrible video game movies, one comes along that is, like that is just good? I was totally not expecting it at all anymore, and then particularly
What are you
Mario,
talking
which is
about?
probably like,
We had the Mortal Kombat movie 20 years ago.
okay, okay, fair enough, fair enough. You know what? Apart from that, like
was
Mortal Kombat
was that
2,
good?
horrible Street Fighter.
Was the Mortal Kombat movie good? I can't
What?
remember.
I wouldn't call it good.
I'm not really
I
sure
would.
if good is the right word, but it definitely kicked back in the day. And man, they are still don't know if you check that out, but they are still using that awesome tune for the modern Mortal Kombat movies
Yeah,
game. So
yeah.
Oh, really?
this new
Nice.
one. Did you check it or did you kind of follow the new one, the Mortal
The new
Kombat one?
game? No, I haven't. I haven't.
So
I've
they're
seen
doing
bits, but not much. Sorry.
what totally blows me away is that they are, or at least for the last couple of Mortal Kombat games, they do this awesome thing where they kind of create a whatever 4 hours movie in in-game graphics, and then it plays this whole for the campaign. It plays this movie, and from time to time, the movie jumps into the kind of fighting perspective. Then you fight with a changing character every time, and then it
Oh
jumps back
man.
into the movie. It's so mad, and the new one is the level of quality is so wild, but then again, they're still using this cool track from the 90s for all of those games. It's awesome. It's so awesome.
If you guys put Fight the Parasite in every game, I would play it. I don't even care.
There you go. There you go. I mean, that's only worth it because you probably make $15 off Andrew all the time. You know, Richie.
Every
Did you know that?
time. Like I
Every
see it, I
time.
buy it. Oh, it's got that song. I'm in. Just put it in the trailer. I'm good.
Mm.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Uh,
looking at the 80s and all these kind of things. That's something that we've also been tinkering with the idea of. Would it would we be interested to do a game that is not pixel art, right? Um,
no, no,
I don't know. I don't
no.
have. I'd say we might try, but it would certainly feel wrong for the most part. And that's probably just because of we've been growing up with these kind of games, right? These things feel like games, right? If it has
Mhm.
pixels, it's a game. Everything else is could be gamey-ish, but not that much, right? But I guess this is massively changing.
Yeah. Are you guys planning on expanding Monolith of Minds? Like hire on people or um, you know, another
Yeah,
artist maybe.
only if our games make enough money to hire people. But depends on what monthly income you are aiming for.
Did it generate enough for you guys to work full time, or you both still have to still doing
Not
it
at
as
No,
all.
on
no,
the
by
side?
Not
far, no, by far not,
not at
by
all.
far not.
Not yet.
I
It
mean,
most
resolution.
it mostly generated a shitload of fun. That's
Yeah,
I
yeah.
what it
mean,
generated.
honestly, there's nothing wrong with that.
Not at
A little
all.
side income, a lot of
Not at
fun.
all.
I mean,
You-
probably indie devs always debate this kind of thing, like what is success at the gaming
Mhm.
industry, right? I mean, then most of
Right.
people measure success if you make at least enough money to continue doing this as a full-time job. But I'd say
Mhm.
it's probably the similar thing that you can also choose in every kind of other art form, right? You can basically choose like, do I really want to go for the money? Then I do have to make a shitload of compromises and like work my whole life around it to a certain extent. Or you go the kind of what Richie basically just said, the kind of fun route and do whatever you want to do, like in the kind of realm how you want to do these kind of things. And for us, it was pretty clear quite early on that that the gaming world is, if you really wanna be a full-time indie dev, then you have to be freaking lucky, and I mean really freaking lucky, but
Mm.
also like way too many compromises. Man, you have to tinker with all these kind of numbers and play all these kind of weird games and basically be on top of all these kind of social media bullshit things all the time. And like, we are clearly not the marketing guys, not even to a little bit, man. We actually hate this kind of stuff. And I
Yeah,
guess I
yeah.
guess it became pretty clear to us that Monolith of Minds is at the core the idea that humans love to do wild shit together, right? And
Mm.
so people have been coming on and off of the kind of project. I mean, of course, we did the heavy load of the two games and the not even the novel, right? Because we also have a novel, which the heavy load was done by Brett Buckmaster. We just did a
Mm.
little bit of guidance and artwork and bits and pieces around it and so on. And we always like the idea that people just come together and do stuff that they like to do together. Particularly with Resolution, there are quite a bunch of people who just contributed little bits and pieces all over the place, right? I mean, that was one of the kind of coolest things. And I guess a lot of the kind of fun came from that, right? That you just do what you need to do without the kind of compromises and strategic decisions or something on these lines. So no, Monolith of Minds, and I mean, Richie and I were pretty clear about that. We won't change this in the near future. Monolith of Minds is basically this kind of conglomerate of ideas that play around in the stories from the Red Code universe. That's our universe that we created, and even to the point where, if you want to come in and just use some characters and try to tell a little story within this kind of universe, we'd be totally open for that, right? This should be this already feels like, and it should always feel like this kind of organic thing. Like, if people come in, they can take a part of it and move it along and make something from it, and then bounce off and do something else again. It's just this kind of very open door kind of idea behind it. Does that make sense, or does it just sounded like weird rumbling from an old German dude?
I mean, it was a little bit of both weird rumbling and
Good,
also
good,
made a
good.
lot of sense. I was actually going to ask you about that because I guess AI plays a pretty prominent part in your universe.
Oh yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about that and what kind of prompted you to include that, or you know
Oh, dude,
just give me a.
you really want to dive down the rabbit hole?
I mean, we don't have to. I've got some other questions. You mentioned
All right, all right. No, no, it's fine, man.
What's your favorite food? What's your favorite food and how's the
favorite
weather?
food. Go. And
when
why is
when
it pizza?
whenever Germans, for Germans, it's sauerkraut and bratwurst. If you don't have
You're
these as
right.
your German food, then you're not a German. Okay, end of story,
Beer
end of
and
debate.
sauerkraut and
Pretzels. Pretzels, of course.
Pretzels.
And Weisswurst. Weisswurst.
did you guys invent
I
pretzels?
mean,
Did you what? What?
Did you guys
yes,
invent pretzels?
we also invented hamburgers, because there is a city in Germany called Hamburg. So we obviously
Oh,
invented hamburgers, right? I mean,
obviously,
how could it be? How could it be any way else?
that's
Nah,
very
I mean,
Have
obvious.
you have you been to Germany,
You
Andrew?
know, no, I have not. I haven't been outside the U.S. yet.
Okay.
Um,
Because currently the famous Oktoberfest is raging on again as usually every year. So I thought
are you
maybe
are you a beer drinker?
not really. No.
Yeah,
You?
that's so
also,
weird. No, not
What's
really.
your poison? What's your poison?
I, if I ever do drink, it's usually a Corona with lime. But that happens so rarely that I don't even really think about it. Once in a huge while, but not very often.
man, that was amazing, man. Richie completely got you off the train with the AI stuff
Yeah, he
into
did. He was
pretzels,
like, "This guy's
beer, and
going into
pizza.
AI. I'm out of here. Quick, derail him."
Guys, you wanna
But
this will probably be weird in the video, but do you wanna see a really weird cat?
Yeah.
Check out the cat.
Where?
Can you see it?
Where is it?
Can you see it on the bed?
Oh, now I can. Yeah. Yeah, for a second your screen froze.
Maybe you can see it. It lies down like a human. It's so
Oh,
weird.
it's a huge cat.
Anyways,
it
just
is a
okay.
huge cat. God damn it,
I
it is a
can.
huge cat.
You should put that in the next game.
Well,
It's
the
in. It's in there already.
come on, man. I want to pick up on the AI shit.
It's like when
Oh,
you.
he's trying to derail you, not
Dude,
me.
in resolution, you can collect those little cats. Did you come across those? who do the
Ah,
meowing.
yeah, yeah,
So we have
yeah,
so we have five little hidden cats, and they do meowing. And the meowing of those cats is actually the sounds of our own cats. So yeah,
Oh,
I
that's
guess
so
I
funny.
guess they are in there. And for Lila, the Garrett, the dude who just did you? Okay, the cat shit usually gets out of hand. But did you did
Going
you did you
sideways,
play? Did you play the optional cat mini boss in Lila?
No, not yet.
Okay, we have an optional cat mini boss, and he does, and there is
I'm.
a track playing, and in the track, the more or less the instrument is a sampled sound of Garrett's cat,
Oh,
which is pretty
nice.
cool.
That's hilarious.
Anyways,
check it out on Spotify if you have that. What is it like? Is it like the Cat Slug song? The Cat
I
Slug
don't,
God?
I don't, cats, I don't know, but cat stuff usually gets out of hand pretty quickly.
That's hilarious.
Anyways,
Um.
we were talking
Anyway,
about AI.
something about AI. Yeah. So you've got like an AI thread through your games.
Oh yeah, okay, man. Sorry, sorry. I got distracted by an
Thread.
American and a German dude speaking about beer and pretzels. Okay, okay. So like when we dabbled with resolution in the beginning, that was like obviously 7 years ago, and what is called AI today was clearly not AI at that time. It was much more a scientific field, and we were like obsessed with it and really dug into it and really tried to read as much of it as possible and really get a good understanding of what it was, and and even until today, I'd say, I mean, philosophically, I think there is no chance for an AI, even though like big companies try to sell us this shit all the time, all the time. So
Yeah.
basically, we picked
Yeah.
up on this kind of threat that the the if there is like an algorithm or like an artificial intelligence, what would be like its first kind of version. And funny enough, we came up with the idea that the first version would probably be some kind of entity that would constantly change the internet, like from a propaganda wise side of things, right? That you
Mm-hmm.
you just create an algorithm that is so freaking good that it will change like all kind of information that you can look at or basically consume through, let's say, the internet or something similar, that they would
Mm-hmm.
just basically control it in some
Turn
the
into like
idea
a
of some kind of
propaganda
higher
machine,
power, right?
kind of. Yeah.
Exactly, like a massive propaganda machine controlling every kind of
Mm-hmm.
information that humans consume, and that was Alibi. The idea of that entity was basically Alibi, this kind of every information controlling idea. Yeah, and then if you
Mm-hmm.
read a little bit into politics and like systems and structures and whatever, you come over this kind of idea of propaganda all the time, all the time,
Oh
all the
yeah.
time,
Yeah.
all the time, and it's so massive. Like like by today we know like everything gets censored, everything gets changed, information's just like one big motherfucking kind of bullshit, and you just have to basically turn every kind of stone over and over. And like by now, let's say most people who are somehow technically connected know that this is a thing. It's not just like a whatever kind of theory. And we
Right. Right.
played constantly, and like obviously 7 years ago, this was clear to more or less almost every kind of information scientist that humanity has been tinkering with this. So our idea was like, what will happen if you take this idea of information changing algorithms, or like let's say information changing AIs, and extrapolate it like 100 years into the future? And that is the baseline of the world of resolution, right? This kind of thing. I mean, at that time we didn't know that it would not take 100 years, but probably maybe 10, something on these lines. So we're pretty much off with our time frame, but that was the original idea why AI has been such a dramatic kind of like it's this kind of running thread, like you said, right? And I mean, at the counter side, we were thinking with the idea that every kind of force has an anti force, or like an opposite force, um, and and I mean, this is actually where our idea started to slightly spiral out of controls, because when let's say every kind of information in, let's say, like a clear world is controlled by, let's say, a single entity, then people have to figure out a different kind of system how to change ideas and have to change information. So that was when we came up with this kind of dream world, that like you have the kind of, let's say, real world, this kind of cyber AI future, totalitarian system kind of side to it, right? And then we were like, we need this kind of opposite to tell a cool dynamic story, and then we create this kind of alternative world that is also like, let's say, a technological world, but it's not connected through the web and fibers, but more like people dreaming, right? And these kind of ideas then started to continue and have this kind of eternal battle with each other.
Oh, interesting. Okay, all right. That was clear as mud. No,
Yes.
just
What
kidding.
or what?
um, so you guys think about AI a lot? Have you? So most of what we have now as that everybody calls AI, I feel like it's not really.
No, of course not.
Like they're doing AI research, so maybe in that sense it's AI, but
Yeah.
it's just really just text generation or image generation. Like it's not. I don't know that an actual AI is. I mean, I think we'll have systems that are much better assistants than they have ever been, but I don't think we're ever going to hit kind of a artificial intelligence where it operates independently without some without um, guidelines or like heavily uh, what's the word I'm thinking of, controlled.
Yeah.
Sorry, you can
I
probably
mean,
hear my
how do
son shouting in the background.
yeah, that's fine, man. He's probably playing Super Mario. I mean,
No, it's actually it's school time for him. So he's actually we home.
He's very angry.
I
I'm
mean,
not sure
I
what
get
he's.
that.
I think to a certain extent, Richie, in my view, us we basically share the kind of same basis when it comes to AI theory. But I think by now we are diverging a little bit. So maybe Richie, you wanna pick that up?
Man, hard to say. So I have a lot of thoughts on that topic. But at least for now, in the present, I really like to tinker with that stuff a lot. I mean, it's for me, it's insanely fascinating what what the speed and the complexity that changed in the last couple of years. Let's say 3 to 5 years, quickly from like a big large data models to what we now perceive or sell as AIs is insane. That with the more or less with the rise of graphics cards, suddenly the idea of creating intelligence programmatically, moving over to creating some sort of intelligence just by pattern recognition, opened a whole new field. And we will and I think we are currently learning a shitload about how our mind actually works, because it doesn't run on logic, it mostly runs on pattern recognition. And
Yep, yep.
at least from that side, the whole AI train, the current AI train, for me is insanely fascinating, because we learn a lot about ourselves, and the outcome is really wild. Um, so I don't
Maybe
know.
let me add
What
two
do
cents to
you
that.
go ahead?
Yeah, let me add two cents to that because I so far I absolutely agree with Richie. But then again, like before you talk about artificial intelligence, you probably have to talk or define what is actually intelligence. And I mean, if you look into the literature, the kind of people are beating the crap out of each other about that kind of topic, right? Because it seems that yeah, from a rational point of view, like what our cerebral, no, what is it like? What is the kind of translation? What's a big part of our brain called?
Um,
I know the German one, but I just can't pick up the English one right now. It doesn't matter.
what
Oh,
what's the German
neocortex.
one?
Neocortex. That is one. Neocortex, the kind of logical big chunk of our brain, is basically doing most of this kind of rational thinking. And from a rational point of view, I think we start to get quite an understanding of what intelligent actually is. But then it seems that humans are not running on only the rational part, but also massively on this kind of emotional part, and maybe many sub layers below that. And when it comes to these kind of, let's say, intelligences, it becomes very wobbly, very sketchy what intelligence is and how they actually influence each other and what they mean, right? I remember when I was growing up, parents use these kind of terms of there is school intelligence and then there's social intelligence. Obviously, they fall apart pretty quickly when you try to look at them through a social, not a social, but a scientific lens. But I guess, that also plays into this kind of big picture that by now we are getting all this kind of rational intelligence is sold as AI, but we cannot really compare it because every creature that is basically running over this kind of globe is not just one part of intelligence. So I'm pretty curious to see where this will be going into the future, if we're actually able to crack a little bit more of these kind of layers beneath this kind of rational intelligence. But honestly, I doubt it. I doubt it because there's this kind of megalomaniac side to it, right? That 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 all this that artificial intelligence is basically approached with this kind of arms race, right? As if there would be just money to be made. But the things like, as soon as an intelligence becomes really sentient, what does it care about money? It will totally change the rules of the game. Totally, that's what like the kind of literature calls singularity. There's this kind of singular event. As soon as this kind
I
of
would,
thing becomes sentient, by then it's much more capable than most humans, that it will do whatever. Man, we have no freaking idea. That's why it's called singularity.
but isn't
So
isn't
yeah,
are you just
Yeah,
aren't you just replacing one muddy word with another? Because what's sentient? What does sentient even mean?
yeah, exactly.
Are most people running around nowadays, are they really sentient, or are
No,
they just pattern recognition machines? Because man, honestly, what's your take, Andrew? What's your take?
a little bit of both. I think we think we're sentient, and we are also pattern recognition machines.
Well, are you sentient? Would you say
uh,
you're sentient, or even better, would you say you have a soul?
I'm conscious.
Where's the
I
difference? Where's the
I
difference?
I think we have souls. Um,
dude,
I
I
thought a
love where
lot
this is
about
going, man.
I've
Gotcha,
thought a lot about
gotcha.
souls. Um,
What's your outcome? No, how do you say that? If you did you get to a point thinking about souls?
I don't know that I actually landed on a point. I definitely think we have them, but I also am not 100% sure that we are in charge. So it's one of these, um,
But that's amazing,
it's
man. I mean, to a certain extent. Sorry for jumping in there, but I love it, man. What you're just trying to describe is basically the journey from Resolution to Lila, right? Because the more you dabble with these kind of thoughts and what is intelligence and what is purpose,
mhm.
and throw in a lot of other complex words, you go from like a very scientific, rational side of things to, let's say, some kind of a, well, you dabble more and more into the kind of spiritual and or religious realm, right? And there is this journey, and nobody who is really trying to dig in can really like draw a clear line between these kind of two fields, and they mash together more and more and more. And I think this is also what we really, or at least what I, from the kind of writing side of things, really try to explore with somewhere between Resolution and Lila. The Resolution starts, it's kind of a very technical game. Everything is about technology and clarity and simplicity and science. And then there is kind of more and more of these kind of spiritual themes basically dropping in, and it still ends with this kind of
Yeah,
singularity side of things. But then Lila starts, like with a little bit of technology or scientific side of things, but massive amounts of spiritual input and themes and whatever. And then it, tries to take it to the end. And I'm not going to spoil this here, but I love that. The more you think about these kind of things, the more you try to write some kind of story out of it, and make it, you can't take them apart anymore. They're mashed into each other, right? So yeah.
yeah. One of the things. So I wrote a short story um, called Ghost Mechanica a while back for a. There was a contest, so I wrote it for a contest. Um, and it was about a mech pilot that crash lands on a planet.
Oh, you
Um,
sent me that a long time ago, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Did you
yeah. Okay,
can I spoil the ending or not?
yeah,
I'll
that's
probably
cool.
no. That was a really cool story, man. That was really cool. I really like that.
So like, I've kind of always explored spirituality and um, along those lines in my writing. Um, the book that I wrote covers um, a lot of like spirituality and things like that in it. Even though it's fiction, I kind of classified it as supernatural thrillers. Um,
Nice.
it's but yeah, I kind of like exploring those things, but I also like exploring the I don't know the kind of line between machine and man. and just kind of everything in between. But
That sounds amazing, man. Is there an option for me to read it as well, or at least for everybody who's
yeah,
listening
I
here?
can I can I mean I can send you a copy of the short story. I'm debating on whether I want to submit the book to a publisher or just do another self publish. So I still kind of kicking it around. Haven't fully decided on that, but
And maybe you want to
What,
join.
what
Maybe you
about
want to join Monolith of Minds, and we publish it under the Monolith of Minds brand.
hey, there's an idea.
what are the pros? What are the pros and cons of having a publisher in the books realm?
Oh, come on, Richie. You know how working with a publisher turns out, man. You made your experiences.
Yeah, I know it from the game dev perspective, but not from the book from the writing
so
perspective.
so the if you self publish, obviously you get pretty much all the proceeds, you know. But then you also have to do all the marketing and all that kind of stuff yourself, which is fine if that's kind of like gonna 100% be your thing, and you know you're gonna spend a lot of time kind of developing an audience and things like that. But I mean, as you know, with game dev, that can be difficult. You know, to kind of get seen or heard or read, and I think for books, it's much harder to get read
Oh
than
yeah,
it is for a game to get played. Everybody wants to pick up a game, and you know, if they know about it, you know, they'll at least check it out. Most people won't. You know, you tell them you wrote a book, whatever. Unless it fits something like a genre and they are big readers, you know.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
if you send it to a publisher, at least they'll handle the marketing and all that stuff. You probably get less proceeds, might get more money up front. So it's kind of like one of these things, you know, weigh the options. Um, so I've kind of just haven't pulled the trigger on either one, but I mean, I would still let you read it, like you know, if you want to check it out.
Yeah, man, totally.
You guys said
Send it over.
you said you wrote a novel, didn't you? Did you write one together, or
No, no,
did you say
we
you wrote
no,
a
no,
novel,
we
or
we we
someone
we
wrote one?
published. Yeah, exactly. We published one
Oh,
that was written by Brad Buckmaster, and he's basically a friend of the Monolith of Minds team by now. And I think he approached us, after Resolution was out for, let's say, half a year or something of these lines. And he said he
mm.
loved the game, he loved the characters, he loved the universe. He's a writer, particularly in the kind of military science fiction field, and he just wants to dabble with our world if it's okay. And like we became friends pretty quickly and talked about all these kind of ideas. And I think it took him roughly a year, something on these lines, to actually write this kind of novel. um,
Hmm.
and for us, at least, it was this kind of perfect conclusion to the the world that we have been set out so far, right? Because by now we have like Resolution, which is like this kind of cyborg guy coming from the real world into the kind of dream world. Then we have
Yeah.
Lila, which is like completely playing out in the dream world. It's basically the beginning of the dream world kind of story side of things. And then we have this
Okay.
kind of novel which plays exactly after Resolution ends in the real world, where this kind of battle cyborg basically beats the crap out of everybody that he beats. And Brett wrote that, and it's just amazing.
The cool idea. Let me jump in here quickly. The cool idea of Brett was that he more or less, while the Resolution tells the story of a real world character, Vala transitioning into the dream world, the book flips it
Mm.
around, and there's a character from the dream world which transitions into the real world. And yeah, man, that was
Oh, that's
some
cool.
good read,
Basically,
That
man.
he
I
sounds
think
created
it's
awesome.
really
he
good
created
stuff.
our he created our supervillain, basically, right? In this
Yeah,
kind of
Do
book.
totally.
you
So eventually,
do you have that on the website or?
yeah, it's called Resolution Virus. That you can find it. You
Oh,
can find it. I
virus.
think on
Okay.
Amazon.
Okay. I didn't realize that was a book. Okay, I get it. All right.
It's a novel. I think it's something like 250 pages, something on these lines. And I mean,
Yeah.
for us, it was
Nice.
basically an experiment that turned out wonderfully. Because he just nailed it, man. I mean, obviously, if someone tinkers in your universe, right, you're like quite cautious. Is he getting it? How he's putting these kind of ideas together. Will he make it better or worse, right?
Really
And
butcher
I
the
mean, I think
characters.
will he butcher the characters? And he actually butchers a character, but in a good way, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so in the end, I mean, we were massively impressed. I was reading this kind of book and laughing and shedding a few tears here and there because he just nailed it, man. He just got the whole feeling so right, and all the kind of
Mm.
little details with barely any kind of editing or feedback process, right? So he really got the
Yeah.
world like 100%. So that was a pretty cool experiment for us. So Yeah, I mean, you're not selling a lot of books anyway, right? I mean, you're not making a lot of
Right.
big money from creating something like that. But for total morons like us that still have no idea what they are doing, it's just beautiful that someone else was able to jump into our world and create his own little art from it, right? I mean, that's cool, man. That's all you want as an artist, basically.
Yeah, no, that's freaking awesome. I'm gonna pick that up and read it because I'm a huge fan.
Cool, man.
The covers
Cool.
the covers badass. I didn't realize that was a book. I was looking at the website and I missed
That
I
probably means
missed the
that
part where
that again we fucked up our marketing. Hey, man, thanks for pointing that out.
that's what I'm here for.
I appreciate it, man. Probably
I
this
will
is like a
fix your
marketing
uh,
consulting
yeah.
session.
I'll fix your marketing for you.
Yeah. Now, now we talked a bit about Resolution, Lila, and a little bit of Virus. Now, your obvious question should be like, what's next for you guys? When will you finally do Resolution 2?
I was going to ask what your next game was, or if you're working on one already, or what are you guys doing right now?
Oh God. I guess not what most people would like to hear on our server and somewhere else.
You're not working on anything, are you?
Oh yeah, well we do, but it's not Resolution 2. I mean Resolution
Oh, that's
2.
fine.
Yeah,
That's fine.
Resolution 2 was basically in the making.
Oh,
Because we started with Resolution 2 right after we finished Resolution 1, because like we just wanted to continue this kind of story, and
yeah,
we
yeah,
we always knew that right, not always, but very early on we decided that we wanted to have this kind of trilogy, and Resolution was in the middle, and then we wanted to have Resolution 2 as final the kind of final thing, and then we wanted to have something like a prequel, right? And
yeah.
after Resolution, we figured out, God damn it, man, two noobs that had no idea what they are doing, going for this kind of 5 year 10-hour kind
Mm-hmm.
of game thingy that was way over our head. Like Resolution is
Yeah.
built very unstable code. We had to redo things over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when we jumped into Resolution 2, we quickly realized, man, basically we are not up for the task. Like we burned ourselves
Mm-hmm.
mostly to death while doing it, and it has been way too shaky ground. So how about we do a smaller game first, and then we tinkered with another idea, and this kind of idea try to be something different, and eventually realized, man, the idea that we're putting together is the perfect prequel. This is exactly what we want to do with the kind of prequel story, like quite smaller, much more nicer, gamey-ish, not as heavy on complex topics like AI, like I said earlier, politics, whatever, but just a smaller one. And then we basically did Lila Skyarc from that. So apart from that, the ideas for Resolution 2, they are still in the drawer. So we do have a big chunk of the story written. We have plenty of concepts. We do have a really good idea about the kind of mechanics, what we want to do. But so far, the problem is that it just still feels way too big for us. I mean, it just doesn't feel like a two-man project, right? I mean, and then
Right.
scaling it down in your head is probably something that eventually might happen for sure. But we have no idea when and how it will happen. So yeah, that's Resolution 2 for the moment.
It's funny that you. What did you say? A 8 to 10 hour game?
Resolution, yeah, is probably something on these lines.
Okay. And you're saying that that two it would be just as big
Oh,
or
probably
bigger?
bigger. Probably, probably,
Okay.
probably
Okay.
much,
Okay.
much bigger.
All right.
But
Yeah, I was
it's
gonna
not
say
just.
because you would think. I mean, the one thing about AAA games is everybody is like, "Holy crap, this game is so fucking short." Like it's only 10 hours. And for an indie game, like, oh my god, this thing is massive. It's 10 hours long. it's
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
different when you're a small team building something versus a much larger team, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
We're still waiting for the AI that is capable of drawing proper pixel art.
Right? Yeah. Tell me about it. I'm still waiting for it to either take over jobs or kill off all the artists or whatever
Well,
AI
I
is
would say
supposed to do next.
I would say there's at least some certain art areas which are already killed. So, like for
Sure.
example, I mean, so this the stuff. So in the job we're working at currently, they're using a lot of Midjourney and that stuff. Man, that is
Mm,
wild. If you go for specific stuff, it's not yet there. But if you
yeah.
just want a
Yeah.
cool background, man, it's just like
Right.
here you
Yeah. Yeah.
go,
Yeah.
here you go.
And
It
that's
costs.
I think that's
That's
kind of a
fine.
perfect scenario for it, right? It's
Yeah,
just, you just need to slap an image in somewhere, looks good. In the U.S., our copyright laws exclude any AI um, art.
yeah,
You can't copyright AI art. So that causes a lot of issues for companies that, require their images and things like that to be copyrighted. So that cuts down a lot of the, at least here in the U.S., you know, because basically, if you make an image with AI, I can use it. You can't sue me. um, but one of the interesting things I've kind of considered is when I do make a game, which I will make a game. I'm putting that out there right now. I
let's
will
go.
make a
Let's
game.
go. Now it's
Um,
official. Now it's official. Go with the
uh,
go with the release date as well. So so to pressure yourself a little
2028.
more.
um, is making my assets kind of freely available for other people to use and do whatever they want with, basically. Not putting a like shit you stole my art kind of thing on it. If
Yeah,
people want to use it, they can use it.
I mean, let's say something to always consider when we talk about these kind of, let's say, AI technologies is that remember about Instagram, like what is it like by now, 10 years ago or something on these lives when Instagram showed up. I mean, before that, um, a decent photographer was really worth his money or her money, right? In some shape
Mhm.
or form. If you had a good camera and a good eye and like a certain kind of feeling for lighting, man,
Yeah.
people paid you money, and it was really special to see a really good photo. And after Instagram,
Mhm.
like a few years later, nobody cared about Instagram. Everybody was deleting their photo folders or deleted their portfolios because it's not worth anything at all
Yeah.
anymore because of the simple
Right.
inflation of information. And I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure the kind of same thing will happen with, first of all, like AI art, that you can't see this shit anymore, right? You don't care about because it's everywhere all the time, and it's just that there's
Mhm.
no emotion attached to it, no value at
Right.
all. And I'm pretty sure that this will happen massively to video games, particularly when it comes to, um, you can see it already when I say like this kind of cheap manga-ish kind of games on Steam, where every day you
Mhm.
get 10 of them, or I don't know, similar, very quickly put together games. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
say yeah, they will be much 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 faster to be created, actually, also by small teams. But then nobody will care because there are so many of them, right? You just basically create them like every day a new game, man. So so
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
so we're still advancing massively this kind of attention industry, to the point
Mhm.
that people really need to figure out what do they put their attention to, right? How do they waste their life's time?
Right.
So yeah, I totally don't think that the tools that we have right now will have a massive effect on those who really try to like create something unique, or at least something really emotional.
Mhm.
But particularly everybody who's just trying to do something, right? Get it out and flood the market with
Yeah.
some shape or form, because the markets will be flooded beyond belief.
Right. Yeah. I definitely think the what is it? The cream rises to the top, or
Uh-huh.
something like that. I,
The wood
It
I,
sounds it sounds wrong,
the
but
wood
maybe.
pile rises on
it's wrong,
top.
but something rises to the top. So if you make something that's very like emotionally driven, and you know has
Our
has feeling to it, like it'll get noticed. Hopefully.
a
Um,
corpse a corpse in the water rises to the top as well.
yeah. See,
Don't get confused.
it's, corpses are an emotional thing.
This is very emotional, Richie, right? This is very
Right.
emotionally and challenging, right? In some shape or form.
Yeah. Um, have you guys been keeping track or watching the Unity stuff?
That was fun. I was impressed. I was totally impressed how well thought out this how insanely clever the Godot marketing team is.
No, those
Putting
guys are badass.
running such an insane marketing campaign within 3 days, man, impressive, absolutely impressive, with
Yeah,
nearly no marketing budget at all.
none at all. It's nuts. Um,
Have you ever dabbled around with Unity? Because I haven't, so I have
yeah,
no idea.
so I've pretty much played a little bit with just about every game engine or framework out there over the
Cool.
course of a bunch of years.
Nice.
So like I tried Godot way back when you guys first started with it, 1.4 maybe it was or something like that. And but yeah, so but Unity always I just didn't like it, and partly maybe it was the clunky fucking interface, and partly because there was just something about it that I just didn't trust. Um, yeah, even back then, there was always something a little off for me personally. So I didn't dive too much into it. Um, and then coming up, and then I've watched the changes. I've always watched it. Um, so
I mean, isn't
then
isn't this like isn't this like one of
this
the
is
kind of
like the
golden rules of the internet? If things are free, don't go for them. In some shape or form, right? They always feel like somehow
yeah.
shaky.
There's
That
always some
there are strings attached. Yeah,
right unless it's open source or has a very liberal license,
yeah, yeah.
which is one of the things that I don't like is that Default has taken so much flack for not having an open source license.
Hmm.
But the only thing it limits you to is packaging it and selling it. Like Godot, you could package it up and sell it as yours if you wanted to. But when King transitioned it to its own um, foundation and basically separated from it, um, the only thing they really required from the license is that it couldn't be packaged and sold.
Hmm.
And so they have a custom license, but it's based on uh, is it GPL 2 or um, something like that, I think. But let me see real quick. Look it up.
Are you an
Um,
open source? Are you an open source guy?
in what fashion?
Don't know. You're running Linux, and all you do is talk about open source stuff and running Linux.
I use open source stuff. You almost can't um, get away from it when you program and things like that. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's based on the Apache 2 license, default licenses. So you just can't package it and sell it, but everything else you can do. So I find it weird that they get flack over not having an open source license. Because especially when all I do is talk about open source and use open source. No, okay.
That's
Um,
what was actually the main point of me choosing Godot, because
yeah.
at least I wanted something that runs on Linux for the
Hmm.
time, and that's a long, long time ago. And
Yeah.
the editor was running on Linux, and
Hmm.
I mean, after playing around, I think I played around with a couple of engines when I started that thing, but Godot instantly clicked. I felt so at home.
Hmm.
It was so well done,
Yeah.
even the first version. Although
Yeah. Yeah.
if you would look at it nowadays, it would be a bit outdated, but
Hmm.
yeah, they are doing a marvelous job. And man, but you can
They're
see,
doing fantastic.
I think it's still one of the biggest growing projects on GitHub. So yeah, I
Hmm.
guess they're
Yeah,
definitely
it's
on the right
huge.
on
I
the right
guess I
track.
guess they
And
just got a shitload of funding over the last couple of weeks, huh?
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Just
I was
got
going to
some
say the
COVID.
Unity marketing team has
Mark.
really helped them out a lot. Yeah. And actually, that's one of the things too. Like I've been using Linux on and off for a bunch of years. I still have Windows on one of my machines, but it's really just for games. I can't. I don't use it for anything else. I don't use it for development or anything. Usually, I use my desktop that I'm on now. That it's really ridiculously old, but runs Linux quite well. Um, so yeah, I've always, I guess, shied away from not paid software. Like I pay for software, um, but I do try to support open source and prefer it for the most part. Um, but yeah, uh, what about you guys? Open source, completely uh, Linux
I
driven,
got
both of you.
okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
You guys are
hardcore,
totally,
twins, right?
hardcore.
totally.
So
Yeah,
so you use the same version of Linux.
Yeah, we also live in the same
We,
house and use the
we
same
all
woman.
share
Oh God.
girlfriends.
Share girlfriend. uh,
No.
No,
that's hilarious.
I've been living. Yeah, when I first went to university many years ago, I had a flatmate, and he was one of these kind of very early
and he shared your
early
girlfriend as
communities.
well. Not kidding.
Yeah, yeah, okay, stop it, guys. No, he really got me into it. He really got me into kind of laws and Linux and everything in general. And I can
Mm,
clearly say that like for at least 15 years by now, I'm a full open source guy. I think I remember there was probably a time where where I probably must have been the only one, or maybe one of 10 designers worldwide who used Linux and Inkscape and GIMP instead of
mm,
Apple. And that
yeah.
was really wild. By now, all these kind of things have catched up massively. I mean, there's barely any
Oh,
reason not to
massively.
go for open source, particularly if you
Yeah.
do it for the getting stuff done side of things. So yeah,
Hmm.
it's like never
Yeah, I
never
use
never had any kind of problems over the last couple of years.
it Inkscape like tons. I use it
Hmm.
tons.
Hmm.
I use it for website design. I use it for so I didn't mention it, but I'm actually in the middle of a startup with two other developers, and so we're building a like small SaaS projects with
Hmm.
Elixir,
Hmm.
and so I do
So what's
the
the project
vast.
about?
The first one we're doing is a reminder app. So I have a terrible time remembering like when my streaming services are due or what streaming service I've signed up for and forgotten about. So it'll actually text you when like a few days before it comes due.
Hmm.
I ignore calendar a lot because there's so much crap on it, family stuff. So a text I look at
Oh,
pretty exclusively. So
that sounds cool. Is
basically,
there, is there is there this kind of premium version that if you don't respond to your text and like a day later some guy arrives with a car and kind of baseball bat? That would be a cool premium upgrade
oh yeah, cool. That's
for
interesting.
reminding
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
The mafia
This is
reminder,
the this is the only
You can start by someone calling you with a
right, right.
lovely voice.
An
You
automated
ignore the
call
text,
next.
and if you still ignore that, then the guy with the baseball
The
bat comes along.
shows up a baseball bat and beats you over the head. I told you your shit was due. Damn it.
Ah, that's cool,
That,
man. Is that like a startup? Are you trying to build up like a little software company that is doing like little
mhm.
software projects? Is that like
Yep, yep, yeah,
any cool?
yeah.
Cool.
We've discussed even making like some small games and stuff too. We just haven't really. Um, we've we have a lot of ideas, but
Yeah.
you got to finish one before you
Hmm.
move to the next.
Hmm.
Um, so the most of the game dabbling I do is obviously any free time I have outside of that, but and of course the podcasts and stuff. But yeah,
What's your playing lately?
what am I playing lately? Um, Dead Space 3. I'm almost done. And I really got pissed off at Dead Space. So I played the first three, and the third one I played roughly when it came out, maybe a little bit after. Oh, okay, sorry. Are you guys still there?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, all right. It said I disconnected for a second. Um, so EA got really greedy, and they separated the end of the game into a DLC.
Oh boy.
I did not know this. I did not know this. I played the game, I
My
beat it,
God,
and then the main character is stuck on this fucking rock in the middle of space or something. Maybe I can't remember exactly. I think,
it's
and
dude, it's
I
getting to
was
mobile territory. You get a game for free, and then you play the first level, and then it says, "Oh, dude, I'm not free."
I was
Please,
infuriated. I
please.
was infuriated, and to this day I haven't played it.
This is
So
mad. This is
a,
mad.
a bunch of years later, almost 10 years later, I'm like, because it came out in 2014. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get the DLC. I didn't even get the games. Like I think I got them on a humble bundle.
Hmm.
So, or I re-got them. I think I might have played it on a console or something at that point. Um, but I didn't give any of the money to EA. I was like, fuck EA. You know, charity can have all my money. I'm taking your games. So like, okay, 10 years later, I'll buy the DLC. EA has since they come out with a couple of good games where they didn't nickel and dime you. Those Star Wars games are really good. I don't know if you guys have played those yet.
No.
No.
Those they're great. You know, very story driven, of course, and kind of keeping with the original films and not not Disney's bullshit. uh, but yeah, so there's my I hate Disney
Rant.
for ruining Star Wars. What about you guys? What are you playing? Oh, go ahead.
What's she?
I didn't. What I'm playing, man. I've finished a couple of smaller indie games. Nothing too fancy. I think the last little thing I really enjoyed was Carry On. Did you play that? Little Metroidvania with this giant red bubble alien thingy which grows and grows, and you just munch humans and crawl through levels and get stronger. And
Oh,
you have this
that
a ton
sounds
of
fun.
tentacles. It's pretty cool indie game. I enjoyed that a lot.
That reminds me of
I
a game.
I wanted to start a Subnautica. Next game I probably will play is
Oh, freak,
Subnautica.
man, that's amazing,
That's
man. That,
that's
that's
a great.
Never
ridiculously good.
played that. Never played that. So
That is
yeah,
ridiculously good.
I'll dive into that.
Yeah. I've played it. I haven't beat it yet, but I've played it a good bit. It's fun. It's a lot of fun
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, I played it.
Um,
I played it way too much, and eventually I realized, man, that I do have this kind of weird subconscious fear of dark, deep waters. And the more I played the
mm.
game, I realized, God damn it, man, this was not just slightly gnawing on my bones, but it, like eventually I realized, man, after playing Subnautica for an hour, I was devastated. I was done, man. I couldn't do anything at all anymore. I was so it drained all the energy out of me. I was like, that is not why I play video games, man. I play video games to relax a little bit and regenerate
Yeah,
in the evening. So yeah, no, but
that
it's a really amazing game.
Your brain
that
was
was
just flooded.
And Richie is on a
this
roll
guy.
here.
That
Come
that was like
on,
me with the first Dead Space. That
that's too
game.
good.
The first time I played the first Dead Space, that game scared the shit out of me, and I was like, I was completely overwhelmed by anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't even think I beat it the first time I tried to play it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was
Mm-hmm.
that bad.
Wow.
And then I played Alien Isolation. Are you familiar with
Oh,
that?
that was good. That was really good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that a lot.
Another game that I beat, but
Yeah.
caused me severe anxiety while playing it. Like
Yeah.
I, it whatever it worked. Like that was probably what they were going for, and it worked out well because I was terrified. I had to
Yeah,
put it in the freezer.
Isolation was a really good horror game. But now I think from at least kind of the recent years, the game that scared me by far the most was most definitely the Outer Wilds. Oh no, Outer Wilds, just Outer Wilds. Did you play that?
Outer Wilds.
Outer
No,
Wilds, with
I'm
where
gonna
you
look
have
it
to
up.
where you're traveling around in this universe. It's probably the best game ever released. So it's
Whoa,
Oh,
man!
by
He's
far, man, by far. I
taking out
cannot
the
remember.
counts.
I cannot think of a better game. It's just like it's from a perspective what a game is supposed to do. I cannot think of a better one.
mm,
And
All
and,
right, fair enough.
and there are
that was
these
got a lot of good
giant
reviews.
angler fishes. But yeah, if you haven't played it, I will not spoil anything. So that is, I would say it's the if you are going to play only one video game in your lifetime, go for that one.
Okay, I'll
That,
check
that,
that one out.
What would you say?
That's
What would you guys say? What's the one
mm.
game that if you are alive for only 1 week, what should you play?
the longest journey.
What was that?
It's, it's a
The longest
childhood.
journey.
It's a probably childhood memory for you.
No, no, I played it. I played it quite late. Somewhere in my twenties. The longest journey is like basically like a just like a point and click adventure. It's not really even special, but I have no
Oh
idea
yeah.
why this game was such a journey. I played it a couple of times, and it was like one of these kind of things that even today. I was always juggling with The Longest Journey and Final Fantasy VII, these kind of massive
Hmm.
stories that just drew me in. I have to give Richie credit for picking Outer Wilds, because if you look at game design through like a, let's say, like a technical lens, through the right amount of story, the right amount of physics, the right amount of puzzles, the right amount of emotions, whatever, then I have to agree, Outer Wilds is like this kind of perfect gem. It almost
Hmm.
nails everything. But it's not one of these kind of games where I'd say I will remember that in a dozen years, because in the end, what resonates
Hmm.
particularly with a character like me is the story, not the
Yeah,
implementation
story.
or something like that, right? We are,
Yeah.
at least I consider myself massively like a story driven creature, and my whole life is just one story, so I'm connecting massively with stories as well. But through the kind of technical lens, I totally have to give Richie the Outer Wilds. It's like it's perfect in every, it checks off every box perfectly. Totally,
Hmm.
totally down. But yeah, Final Fantasy VII and The Longest Journey would be my best games. Yeah, and then probably followed by some mix between Metroid and Zelda games,
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
those might be.
Oh, did you guys play Ghost Song?
No, wait, but it rings a bell. Ghost Song.
It totally rings a bell, but I can't
Uh,
place
Oh,
it.
yeah, we did.
check it
I
out.
did. Yes, yeah. It's this kind of, let's say, Metroid clone. Yeah, with this kind of organic
Hmm.
kind of
Yeah.
look to it.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was pretty. That was pretty
Hmm.
good. That was really good. That was like
I didn't play
one of the
that.
better Metroid homages.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, when
Um,
it comes to gaming over the last couple of months, I think I got more and more sick and bored of all the kind of big games, and nothing really took me in. I think the last one that I played was Dark Souls 3, because I had skipped on
mhm.
that for all the kind of years, and eventually I just got it. And I got through it for the most part. I think I had like the kind of last three bosses or something on that left. And then I realized, man, I'm just not interested in the grind anymore, and that's absolutely true for all the kind of games. Like
Yeah.
I'm too old, I don't want to have like 30 attempts for every second boss or
Mm.
something like that. That feels like a
Yeah.
waste of time, right? And then I eventually decided, I'm probably eyeing for a Steam Deck sometimes later this year. And then I was
Mhm.
like, man, before I put my Switch away, because I've been gaming on the Switch for the last 3 years, I was like,
Oh
man,
yeah, nice.
I'm getting this kind of Nintendo what is it, like this kind of Nintendo special account thingy, and then you can
Hmm.
play all the kind of old games,
Oh
and that's
yeah,
what I've
yeah,
been doing
yeah. The
for the last 4 weeks. So I've basically been grinding through almost every Mario game, every Zelda game, and almost every Metroid game for the last few weeks, and it's a freaking blast. But now I've reached the kind of Secret of Mana
hmm
nostalgia kind of level,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I also get a little bit of, let's say, nostalgia fatigue at that point. So I
Sure.
won't be doing it for long, but like the last 4 weeks when it comes to gaming was just amazing, man. Like having
Hmm.
Mario 2 and 3, and then what is it, like Yoshi? What is it, like Mario what
Yoshi's
2
Island.
is? Yoshi's Island. Like it's ridiculous the amount of creativity that these kind of people have been putting in these games. It's mind-boggling, man. It's mind-boggling. You just have every level has five new cool ideas. It's like,
Yeah,
what did
yeah,
they do with their brains? Probably they ate a lot of mushrooms, because that's the only answer here I have. But yeah, man.
yeah.
For a
Because
game, for a game dev,
Mario's
it's
a
fucking inspiring.
drug addict.
He is, man.
Are you guys
He
are you
is.
guys looking for are you guys looking forward to the new Mario game? Mario, what's it? Mario Wonders?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
It
Yeah,
looks
that
really
looks
cool.
amazing.
It looks
Wait,
really good.
which
Oh,
one is it?
it's called
Mario Wonder.
Super Mario Bros. Wonders, something like that. Not really sure. Wonders.
I didn't realize there was another Mario game coming out.
And it's I probably haven't been hyped for a game for a rather long time, but that one really ticks my boxes. Looks so
Yeah.
freakishly
Oh,
good.
Mario Brothers Wonder. I
Yeah,
hadn't heard of that, but now I guess I'm probably gonna have to
just
buy
check
it.
the trailer. Just check the trailer. It's again one of those thingies where the amount of creativity and ideas in every shot is like overwhelmingly cool.
And
Wow.
still,
Yeah.
isn't there this kind of thing settling in the gaming industry, at least for the most part, that to a certain extent you always just have the feeling that everything starts to just be a copy of a copy of a copy. I
Hmm.
mean, because that's at least what I'm getting, at least in the kind of big picture. That even though Mario Wonder looks amazing, man, and I definitely want to play it, man, it's just like, yeah, it's another Mario game, and that's really cool. That's what I want from Mario, right? But it's just like,
Right.
when
Yeah.
was the
You
last
just
time
want.
that you picked up a game and you're like, man, I just really tapped into a completely new kind of emotion, like a completely
Mhm.
new kind of experience, something that is really fresh in some shape or form. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe that would be like a tie back to Resolution 2, because I think we still have an idea what we want it to be, but to this point, I'm waiting for a game that is really catching this kind of vibe, so we get a better kind of inspiration, because we're feeling quite a bit lost of we know what we want to do, but we have no idea how to do it, and it's like a combination of let's say like a real living world, where like you're not like just going from script to script, like the whole world is living and interacting, like let's say similar to Rain World, but then have it like combined with like let's say like a Zelda like kind of rhythm, something on these lines. That's what we want Resolution 2 or Children Resolution as the working title to be. And man, I'm waiting for some kind of game that gives us the right kind of hints, the kind of right kind of ideas. This would be the way to do it. So yeah, man, I've been dabbling with this quite a bit. What are the last couple of games that you're like really, man, this was really a rich thing. I'm really happy that I played this. This kind of opened a new door in my brain.
Yeah, that it seems like that doesn't happen too often anymore, unless you're playing like at least for me, if I'm playing something really story driven,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, oh, that and I'll write down some ideas, like it'll just
Mm-hmm.
generate, um, but those games are kind of, I don't want to say they're few and far between, but I tend to find a lot more of that lately with like indie driven games.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, there's not a lot of AAA stuff that comes out anymore that really sparks my inner muse, I guess.
Oh yeah, oh
Um,
yeah, man. What do we have? Like is it like Uncharted 7, Gears of War 38? I don't know, man. What's
right?
it like?
Well, they're as bad as the movie industry. Like they just keep rehashing the same
Yeah,
shit over and over.
yeah,
And I don't mind if a game ends. If a series ends, if it's got a good solid ending, then just end it. It doesn't
yeah,
have
yeah,
to go on for years.
yeah,
Um, there's a show on Amazon called The Expanse. I don't know if you've heard of it.
yeah. I
Um,
heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
okay, okay, so it's based.
I've watched most of it.
Oh,
I
okay.
think the
It's
first
based
first
on a
first three
series.
seasons.
Okay,
Go ahead.
yeah, it's based on a series of novels. Um, the the show covers the first 6 books, which is kind of an arc because the book after 6 jumps like 30 years into the future. So the show doesn't have to go any further, but everybody's like, oh, where's season 7? Well, it doesn't need a season 7, for a show. uh I mean, aside from the fact that the actors haven't aged 30 years yet to pick up the plot, it's got a good arc. It ends. The same with Battlestar Galactica. I don't know if you guys watched that.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
we
They
watched that
redid it
one.
in
wait, the original one or the remake?
the remake.
Yeah, that was
I know.
amazing. I love the remake, man.
Yeah, yeah, it was amazing. I mean, it still holds up. But it had a really great ending. The
Mm-hmm.
ending was
Mm-hmm.
kind
Yeah,
of like mind blowing a little bit.
Yes,
yeah.
yes,
I
yes.
won't
That
give it
was
They
away.
cool.
fin- they
That
finished
was
they
a
finished
highlight
everything
back in the day.
beautifully. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. They tied it up great. It didn't need any more than that. It was, it covered the arc and it was done. But but yeah, companies just seem like they want to just grind a thing into the ground. Just squeeze every last penny out of an IP, and it ruins it a lot of times.
Yeah, there have been a couple of TV shows over the last couple of years where you had the kind of feeling that, man, they really had a really cool ending, like a really cool cut after, let's say, season 2 or season 3 or whatever that might be, and then like
Mhm.
they were just going too well, and they put on more and more and more. And I can totally understand it, like if things are
Yeah,
going well, you really want to ride the train, but from an
right,
artistic
right.
point of view, yeah, it's like maybe that's also why it's a really interesting approach to or like an idea to approach an art project, either through the lens of will it make enough money to like at least break even, or is
Yeah.
this just for me and the kind of story side of things, right?
Hmm.
And I guess you really have to dabble with this idea. And I mean, it seems that today everything has to be around this kind of capitalistic idea that whatever you put out needs to make at least the money that you have put in. If not, it's not
Hmm.
worth anything. But that's absolutely not true in the end,
Yeah,
right? Because,
yeah,
like
yeah,
at least for us, I could man, the amount of cool people that we met along the kind of journey, and the interesting and the little adventures within our games, outside of our games, all these kind of interactions. I mean, we have a bunch of people on our Discord who are putting up this amazing art. I mean, it's just
Hmm.
like they got inspired by two weirdos trying their hands on a first video game that got inspired by someone else. And though
Yeah,
this kind of generational story keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. I mean, it's the same thing probably with your kids or the family, right? It's just like you don't have
yeah,
to finish the house. I mean, it's obviously cool if there's a roof on it, right? But if you're not able to
right,
finish
right.
it, someone else will finish it. And I think if we approach
Yeah,
stories similarly,
yeah.
we have no idea what kind of cool things come out of it, right? I mean,
Hmm.
something that might start as like a really cheap thing in your generation might be the biggest blockbuster, whatever kind of financial phenomena, like a generation later, maybe.
Right,
I mean,
right.
wasn't that this kind of story that no, it was. I think the Lord of the Rings was pretty successful. Was really successful during
Hmm.
Tolkien's lifetime. Also, I think Dune, like Frank Herbert's like massive
Yeah,
sci-fi thing,
yeah,
was
yeah.
really successful during his lifetime. But I mean, there are
Hmm.
probably some examples of writers or let's say artists in general that created something in their lifetime that was not successful at all, but later blew up massively, right? In some kind of
Sure.
other generation picked it up. I think that's a very satisfying way to approach art or creativity in general or creating stuff in
Right.
general.
Yeah, there's been a couple of writers. Robert Jordan, who did the Wheel of Time series,
Hmm.
but he
Oh,
didn't finish it because he
hmm.
died.
Oh
But
yeah.
he had outlined the last story,
Hmm.
and so they brought in Brandon Sanderson, who's a
Hmm.
phenomenal writer on his own, to finish them. And
Hmm.
I guess he did a really good job. I haven't read those ones yet,
Neither.
but
But Lovecraft would be an example. Lovecraft, I think he didn't make a penny in his lifetime, but he's this kind of crazy influence today. Like if you do
right,
horror,
yeah,
you do Lovecraft, right? I mean, he's this kind of
yeah,
magic dude. That's like, yeah. And
yeah, that's crazy.
they are like if you read these kind of stories today, they are weird and they are written really
Hmm.
weird, but they
Yeah.
to a certain extent totally hold up or might even work better today than they did in the past culturally, I
Hmm.
guess. So yeah, that would be an example of like generational taking over, humanity
Yeah.
taking over things.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And even like science fiction. I don't know if you noticed if you've read any old science fiction, but it's it's very it reads kind of strange sometimes
Hmm. Hmm.
um, because they didn't have any kind of frame of reference. You know, they're
Hmm.
just making shit up as they went along. You know, they might have a box, that they talked into or something. And we're just like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, a terminal or some sort of whatever. Um,
I mean, what do you think? Do you think like in 50 or 100 years from now, um, life on Earth would look like the kind of projections that some science fiction movies give us, or some kind of science fiction stories? Because I think it won't. Like we project, that everything is a very linear progression. That in the
mhm.
future things
It's
are
not.
all the same, just a little bit different. But I think it's not this
Yeah.
kind of case. Either we go like extra, what is it like, extrapolation? No, not extrapolation. Well, either we
Extraterrestrial?
Mhm.
either we bounce up massively, with a kind of massive
Right.
spike, or we also like could,
Hmm.
could totally drop, right? I
Could
mean,
totally drop.
maybe,
Yeah. We don't really have
maybe
a. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I think it maybe a little bit of both, really. Like, I would say as far as technology goes, I'd say the Expanse show comes, or the books come pretty close
Mhm.
to how it might be. Um, maybe colonizing the moon, maybe Mars. But I mean, I don't think we're talking in this lifetime. I'm thinking, a few hundred years from now, at
Oh,
at
man,
best case.
do you think as a kid you've been thought about having like a video call with perfect sound with two German dudes that you met over the internet while they were playing a video game?
Yeah,
Probably not,
yeah, yeah.
man.
No,
Probably not.
probably not. No, definitely not.
I can I can see I can see massively both directions. I mean, on one hand, we have this kind of massive data hawking and future calculating side of society, which you could call like technocracy, and then all these
Mhm.
kind of dystopian elements to it, like world governments and whatnot madness. And on the other hand, you have this kind of massive nature um, nature seeking kind of movements, and like go back
Hmm.
to some kind of root, whatever that might be. Like might be, let's go
Right.
back 100 years, maybe let's go back
Yeah.
2,000 years. It's like all
Hmm.
these kind of things that they are clashing at the moment, and it seems that
Right.
way too many narratives try to be the one, and barely
Hmm.
anybody can like see a future where these kind of two narratives work together instead of control be the only thing, right? And I mean, maybe
Right.
that's also part of this kind of probably like 2,000-year-old um, control narrative. Like might be even
Hmm.
older than 2,000 years, but could
Sure.
at least be traced back to the Roman Empire, where everything had to be done like the Romans do, right? That was
Yeah.
this kind of
Yeah. That's
idea.
that's actually
Land
coming
tricks,
back. If you watch
land
Twitter.
tricks, like roads had to be exactly the same size, and
Yeah.
like this weight had to be exactly that kind of that number attached to it, and so on and so
Hmm.
on. And could also be total end of this kind of worldview within our lifetimes, I guess. So yeah, man,
It's
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Um, it's yeah, it's getting really popular on Twitter for everybody to be like contemplating Roman emperors. Like, who's your favorite Roman emperor?
Really?
Or I'm like, yeah, that's so bizarre, you know.
What is
Um,
your favorite Roman Empire? No,
ah,
no, no, Roman emperor.
I don't. I mean, Aurelius, he's the only one. Like, he stoicism. Like, that's the only guy that
How
matters.
many? How many do you
Um,
know? I only know two.
That's pretty much it. There might be.
Yeah,
I could probably name some other ones if I really thought hard about it, but I don't really contemplate the Roman Empire much.
great,
Now
man,
the
great.
German Empire,
Oh
no,
yeah,
I don't know.
oh yeah. That's another story.
So, like, what was your kind of experience using Godot building a game? Tell me a little bit about just the experience of using Godot. I've seen a lot of stuff, and I read tweet threads, and everybody's kind of the C# people are like, oh, it's not ready for games. It's not ready for 3D, or I don't know. What do you guys think about all that stuff?
man, I don't know. From the get go, everything felt totally right. At least for me, it was just like the 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 way how the code and the editor play with each other is just right. It's like you build stuff together with the editor, but you create all the complex stuff with the code. There's no weird like block building toolkit or like how do you call these things where you
What
just where you click
what are
blocks
they called? Like,
together that run code stuff like that, but you
oh
can
yeah, visual
actually
scripting.
yeah, visual scripting stuff, nothing weird like that. So for me, it was just like perfect. GScript looks like Python, and I love Python way more than all the curly bracket languages. These kind of things. It has. I mean, we didn't build a 3D game, or we didn't build 3D games at all. So we just worked with the 2D stuff. So I cannot say what's the performance side of things,
Hmm.
but then again, everything is just like so well thought out. You get all the tools you need. It's not super high level. You still have to know what you're doing, but it's high level enough so you don't have to bother with the super low level stuff. So I'm just a huge fan, a huge proponent of the whole engine and the people working on it. So we've got to know some of them along the ride. And in beginning of November, there's the next Godot Con is in Munich, which is kind of cool. So it's kind of around the corner from
Kind
where
of
we live.
close, yeah.
So we'll go there and meet some of the dudes in person, which will probably be a blast. And especially now, since that Godot has got such a
Yeah.
huge marketing boost from their marketing department. Um, so yeah, man, I couldn't I couldn't
Thank
I
you,
couldn't
Unity.
I couldn't I totally couldn't be happier with the whole thing. And even, man, even the UI toolkit that Godot uses is insanely good. It took me a couple of quite a while to get to wrap my hand around it. But in
Hmm.
our for the in the company we are working at currently, we are more or less building a UI, a super heavy UI driven app with Godot, and it's insane
Oh, oh
how
shit!
good
You
the
guys are
engine.
actually using that on a job?
we are more or less building. So we can tease it a little bit. It's some sort of mixture between social media app and card playing game. It runs on mobile, so it runs on Android and iOS. And more or less
Oh wow.
the whole thing is built with Godot's control nodes. And man,
Oh
it's so
shit.
good. It's so good, man. The system, yeah, man, Godot is just the way to go.
That
Even
sounds amazing.
for like kind of natively looking apps which have a lot of lists, because that's what mobile apps are, basically. It's just like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
lists for
Basically,
stuff,
just lists
right?
of lists, a
Yeah.
list with more lists.
And the whole Godot framework works so flawlessly for that kind of stuff, so it's really cool. Just a big shout out to whoever does that. Who Big shout out to the guy who keeps all the developers in check to keep it still, to have it to have the whole engine be so lean and still so
Hmm.
powerful.
Yeah,
Man, that's really impressive. I mean, the
very,
whole
very.
engine is, what is it? Is it like 30 megabytes, or maybe 50? It's just like, it's
Yeah, it's
tiny,
tiny. Yeah, it's super
absolutely
tiny.
tiny.
Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, guys, right on.
nice, cool. Well, I will let you guys go. We're at about an hour and 35 minutes, which is about average for my
Come
podcast.
on, we'll fill it. We'll fill
Want
it.
to
We'll
keep
fill it
going?
up. We'll fill it up
I'm
with
good
20 more
for.
minutes trash talk, man. We're
I'm
totally
good
down
for
with
another. I'm good for another 30 minutes at least.
No, man, we can end it here. I mean, I can totally hop on Richie's shout out to Godot and the kind of Godot
Do it.
community in general, because in the end, I do have a bit of experience when it comes to developing and coding in general, but barely compared to Richie. And I think my last line of code is at least 7 years old or something like that. But I must
Hmm.
also say, like, that Richie explained in the beginning. I was like, well, why do you want to use the engine? What should I do in the engine? And he said, imagine it being I don't know, Photoshop or GIMP. Basically, you have shitloads of little graphics on a layer, and then what I do is that you paint all these kind of graphics on the layer, and I just attach little scripts to each graphic, how it interacts with everything else on the layer. I was like,
Hmm.
well, for a graphic designer, that is the perfect introduction of video game development, right? Because in the end,
Yeah.
you just build this kind of massive canvas, and then you separate all these individual parts. What should move where and when and how, and what are the rules of how these kind of things are moving into or outside of each other,
Hmm.
and that was like perfect. And I was actually able, at the end of Resolution, I was able not to just like put in my assets myself and draw all these kind of things, but also to the point where I was able to animate my own objects, and at least dabble a little bit with the scripts. I was never able to put together the big picture, but I was always able to jump in and tinker with every little detail as a graphic designer in general.
Hmm.
And that is like also like for engine like that is like a big plus, right? That
Yeah.
everybody somehow jump in and more or less do their shit. I mean, even I remember even our sound designer used the engine and jumped in and actually put his own sounds and into the engine, like with all the hooks and grannies. And I mean, for like an engine like that, that's amazing that all the kind of people on the team that you need to build such a project can, at least to a certain extent, hop in and put their own bits and pieces to the big project.
It's
That is
something done,
absolutely
yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic.
All right. So
Nice.
so what did we manage to accomplish today? So we did a shout out to Godot. We did a shout out to Garrett Wolf. Andrews
Hmm.
announced his first full video game release. Um, we
I
Let's
got,
see.
I
we
got
still
something.
we
I got
still
We
something
managed
more.
we
to.
gave we gave a shout out to the greatest marketing team of all time, Unity.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Way to go, Unity! Way to go! Yeah, I mean, hey man, how about that? I wanna have a shout out to. I started to draw comics, and I have no idea. I've never drawn comics, but I got a little bit crazy about continuing the kind of story of Resolution. So man, I got into drawing comics lately, and hopefully some people jump on the Discord server and check it out and tell me
Yeah, I
if
want to
it's
see.
a good way to continue or if it really sucks, man. Man, you jump in. I just uploaded the first 4 pages, and I'm continuing in those.
Oh,
Just
badass!
like,
I
but also,
will
also,
be
also, there is
checking it
another
out.
component to it. If people see that the kind of story continues, they will probably, or hopefully, be up Richie's ass that he finally starts creating Resolution 2, right? So here, everybody, go and bother Richie because you all want Resolution 2. I want Resolution 2, but he's the bottleneck. So you bother him.
Oh, you're the bottleneck.
Send him money, love, and cars with people at baseball bats.
Yeah, maybe get your app done finished first, Andrew, so I can use it to kick my ass.
Fair enough. The only nag you'll ever need.
So now Andrews is the bottleneck.
Yeah, he just slouted that off of me. You see that? All right, great time, guys.
Thanks
Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. It's a lot of fun.
Thanks for hanging out, man.
Yep,
we keep connected. See you guys. Bye.
Yep.